What is probably the one thing that kept me stuck more than anything else? That's what I'm going to talk about today. Hi, I'm Kirby. I am a trauma and attachment specialist, and I shoot these videos every day to help people get through all those dark times, detangle this chaos of emotional energy and dissatisfaction with relationships in life, and kind of help us move towards a better future, better version of self. It's possible. I'm living proof. And today it's heavy. I actually sat down to do a totally different topic, and I was lining up the cameras and lights and everything. And I sit down in this chair and I'm like, wow. I'm like, actually, I'm very, very inspired right now to speak about something totally different. And it's something that's very difficult to face. And there's a timing aspect to this, is that you kind of have to be at the right time and the right place to hear this message. And so I'm putting this one out there for all of you that are at the right time, the right space. And if you hear what I'm about to say and you revolt, it's not your time yet. That's nothing wrong with that. Try later. But I absolutely 100% believe this to be true. That this is the one thing that probably kept me stuck in relationship misery, toxified relationships, dissatisfaction with life, the thing that kept me angry and resentful at my partner, probably more than anything else. And that is this simple idea: I'm right and you're wrong. Does that make sense? I'm going to repeat that again for the people in the back. I'm right and you're wrong has an element to it that gives me a sense of justification. It gives me, it fuels my negative emotions in the sense that I'm justified, I'm righteous in feeling angry. I'm righteous in feeling indignant, in feeling impatient, in feeling like I feel righteous and justified in making demands of partner to change their behavior, to change the way they are, to change the very nature of who they are, and definitely the nature of their attachment system. What you're doing right now is not acceptable. You're wrong. This is the right way you love someone. This is the right way you show emotion. This is culturally acceptable. This is, any person you'd ask would say that this is appropriate and that's not. This is respectful and that's disrespectful, whatever, right? We can come up with a million different ways of saying this, but it boils down to this one simple truth, and that is, inside me, I believe that I'm the righteous one. I believe that my way of loving is the correct way. I believe that my way of communicating is the right way. It has to be on my timeline, my style, my approach. If we're going to take a break, it has to be done in a way that is my way, acceptable for me, right? If we're going to fight, it has to be done in a way that I find appropriate. Because if you come out and we have a conflict and you, I don't know, you bring my mother into this, or you point out one of my inconsistencies, or you just shut down, you start smoking pot and then just disappear. And that's the way that you do things. And I'm just like, that's unacceptable. Whew. Man, I feel it just thinking about it. And it's like, there's this overwhelming sense of tragedy and grieving sadness that I have inside me, that this is so prevalent. I got wrapped up in it. I was so guilty of that. That attitude literally creates an environment of impossibility. It creates an environment that is so caustic, so poisonous, so aggressively judgmental and critical, that a person with any kind of avoidant proclivities will just shut down, guaranteed. There's no way out of that. And so if we have an environment that's guaranteed for them to shut down and run away, unless they do it my way, which they can't, do I blame the outcome of the situation on the avoidant? Or do I blame the outcome of the situation on the person that created an environment of caustic criticism? Or do we blame no one? That's actually the answer, I think. Let's blame no one. Let's just recognize the dynamics at play and recognize that we are working together and that I am operating under lots of unconscious, subconscious, trauma-driven behavior patterns and survival mechanisms. And that creates a dynamic where I feel like I'm right. That I feel like I'm justified. That I feel like I get to judge them. I get to be judgmental because I'm right and they're wrong, right? And I'll tell you, like, absolute truth. Scout's honor, however many fingers that is. Scout's honor. Like, if you can achieve a point of view grounded enough in yourself to say that, like, there it is. I'm judging them. There it is. I'm believing I'm right and they're wrong. And you just stop right there. You just like kind of just inward and you're like, hey, little voice, little inner child, whatever. Just stop for a second. And like, let's just hold that thought for a moment and meditate on the idea that maybe I'm not right. Maybe it's not that I'm wrong, although I might be, but it's just that like, I'm not so right that I'm innocent, that I'm without cause or blame or involvement. I'm not so right that I got to look down on them for being wrong. Like, can I just like freeze that for just a split second and just be like, what possible world, sequence of events, internal belief systems can I imagine that would motivate my partner to behave in this way? It's like, well, sure, if they had the same life experiences that I had, they wouldn't be behaving that way. Like, if for me that's unacceptable behavior, but that's me and my life experiences and all my training and my belief systems and the value hierarchies that were like programmed into my brain by my caregivers and culture. So by the standards and metrics by which I would evaluate my own behavior, yeah, sure, their behavior's not great. Maybe even disrespectful, maybe horrific, but maybe it's not, right? Now, of course, and there's always these people living in the black and whites and the extremes, and they hear me say something like this in one of my live classes, and they're like, no way, like I'm walking out of this class, like this guy's defending abusers. And it's like, no, I'm not. That's ridiculous. Like a person who is physically aggressive, manipulative, lying, cheating, stealing, any kind of threatening behavior, emotional or otherwise, any kind of like planned, intentional manipulation, dismissive, tearing down, devaluing, any of that stuff, right? Like those are so obvious. Like it's like it shouldn't even be a conversation we're having. It's like those are flat out unacceptable unless you have a very unique value system that's just like, oh yeah, manipulating people is like super cool, and he's really good at it, and I'm really good at it, and like we're gonna pair up and we're gonna go rule the world. It's like the kind of crap the supervillain would do, right? Like, no, if you're not a supervillain, don't put up with that shit. No. I'm not defending abusers. Like, that should just be a situation where it's like, oh, you made an aggressive action. Done. Like, we don't need to have a second conversation. We don't need a second opinion. We don't need to evaluate it. I don't need to go on the internet and check these things out. I don't need to talk to mom or my best friend or whatever. It's like, no. If my partner crosses one of those lines where I legitimately feel physically unsafe or emotionally unsafe, then it's like, then it's walk. What if they're innocent? Kind of doesn't matter. Right? I got this one recently from someone I was working with. They're like, what if they're innocent? What if I'm misunderstanding it? It's like, it doesn't matter. Your nervous system believes it to be true. The truth does not matter. What actually happened does not matter. What matters is what your nervous system believes to be true. And if your nervous system sees them, interacts with them, hears their voice, whatever, and it begins tightening up in anticipation of some kind of negative experience, you're done. Don't try to string this out and make it longer and bigger and more dramatic than it needs to be. It's like, sorry, it didn't work that time. And maybe they are completely and totally innocent. That's fine. Allow them to move on with life, and you move on with yours. It's like there's just no reason. And people say, "Oh, we're so in love," and it's like, how long did that take? How long did it take for you to decide that this is a person that you want to invest in? And like, there will be others. There will be others. And in fact, the better you get at walking from the negative situations, the more trust you will have inside yourself, and your life will actually improve across many domains. And then that actually creates space for better relationships that don't even have that drama to begin with. That's the way it works. Okay, that's a wild tangent that obviously I'm passionate about. But what I'm getting at is, if I am in a place of righteous belief in my righteous, that's literally what it means. I'm right. If I'm in a place of righteous belief, I'm right. I'm justified. I'm correct. This is the right way to do it. This is the superior way to do it. This is the healthy way to do it. This is the whatever. And this is very hot and alive in me right now because I'm involved with all these different groups online and in person also that are filled with people that clearly have an anxious attachment system, and they've experienced something in relationship with another human being that they found painful, usually an activation of an abandonment wound. And that pain is difficult to process, especially with no guidance or coaching or therapist. And so they're reeling in all this pain. And then, what the brain does is the brain takes two things that happen close together, right? The way the brain makes connections is it observes two things that happen in the same time and place. If they happen at the same time and place, the brain says, oh, these must be connected, right? And then watches for future connection. And so what happened is, I'm dating this person, right? Or I'm carrying whatever. I'm in some kind of relationship with this human being. And then that human being says a couple of things like, I want to see other people. Or they say something like, I don't know if I'm into this anymore. Or they don't say anything and they just vanish, right? And brain, being the brain that it does, says, oh, I have all these big negative emotions right now. And they just said these words. Those two must be connected. It's obviously their fault. They caused this to happen. Why would they do that? And I trusted them, and now they're hurting me, and I'm not going to trust someone that it's hurting me. And their reality gets a little bit fractured, right? Because they don't know how to process this all yet. Because they're still living in this illusion. And I'm sorry if this ruffles feathers, but it's the truth. They're still living in this illusion that the pain that I'm feeling inside was caused by that person. It was not. That idea blew my brain when I first came into my awareness, and I was like, what are you talking about? That can't be. Of course. Like, she trusted her and she cheated. Of course my feelings are coming. And it's like, no. That's not how it works. How it works is that my nervous system learned that pain a long time ago. It learned that pain usually because of a major attachment disruption between me and mother or father. And that's actually the pain that lives inside me. And then it's just because when we date romantically, the brain reuses the same neural pathways that we developed in our childhood because it's more efficient that way. And so it takes those neural pathways and it basically says, oh, we've already got a neural pathway for love and connection and blah, 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 blah. This is why we repeat the same wounds, why we pick people who look like mother and father or act like, feel like mother and father. This is why we keep repeating the same patterns, is because literally the neural pathways that were established during the first 3-year period are now reused, recycled. And here we are as an adult, being in a romantic relationship with someone, and all those neural pathways are now alive, which means all the pain and wounding associated with whatever happened in the first 3 years is now here, present. And the moment that person walks away, all that pain of abandonment, loss, everything else, that's now very, very alive. Now, of course, there's some aspect of it that is related to that person, some aspect of it. But let's just say that when I started getting into this work, I was going to like, oh yeah, sure. Like first 2 year, 3 year stuff. It's like, it kind of sets a beginning. It sets the foundation, but it's really these adult relationships that really create and it's like, nah, like we increasingly have more evidence plus the empirical stuff, anecdotal. We have the anecdotal experiences that you hear from clients over and over again. And then plus my own experiments in the field. And it's just like, I am surprised how much pain shows up now that actually is only minorly associated with now, and it's majorly associated with the past. But that's pretty complex, and maybe we can even say advanced. Mark that for the future. Ask me questions if you want to know more about it. So the situation we're in is that I believe I'm right. I believe I'm justified. And if I go on the internet and I find a bunch of other anxious people, they're all going to tell me that I'm justified, and they're going to tell me that I'm right, and they're going to tell me that that guy's a bad guy, and they're going to tell me that he's selfish and mean and uncaring and cold-hearted. There's a whole bunch. There's this whole gamut of adjectives they use, and I feel a tragedy about that because it's like they're still trapped. Those people are still trapped in their righteous indignation, believing that the cause of all their suffering is absolutely brought upon by another person. And what's more, there's multiple stages of tragedy here. The next stage of tragedy is that because they believe they're right, there's no motivation to self-inquire. If I believe I'm completely and wholly right in something, justified, holy, better than, I don't have any reason to come inward and say like, well, how did I do this? What part did I play in creating this? And that's why we stay stuck. I started this all off saying that this is probably one of the number one things that kept me stuck in my journey and in a life of misery. And this is why, is because when you believe you're right, all sorts of systems go off inside the body and mind, psychology, that demotivate you from putting any effort into self-awareness, self-discovery, and looking at the real source of the problem. And because I don't go there, because I don't look, then that means I never make any progress. I don't change. Like this thing that has been plaguing me for years, decades in my case, doesn't get any better. I just keep looping the same cycle. Why? Because I don't actually get to the root of the issue. I just keep throwing the blame on another person. Because why wouldn't I? So let's say, okay, we got this situation where it's like, oh, we're going through a breakup, or I'm dating someone and the someone I'm dating is avoidant, and we're reaching this point where they're starting to check out a little bit. They're not so present. And I'm chasing after them and they're pulling away further, and then they disappear and what they call the discard, which we'll come back to that in another video. But the discard happens and then they run off. And now I'm sitting here being like, they could have spoken to me. They could have talked to me. How dare they? They're so heartless. Like, it's completely selfish. They don't have any care in the world about how their actions impact me. Right. Okay. So that's the stage. And people say, okay, Kirby, well, how can this be anything but their fault? It's like, see, what happens there is that I am coming in this relationship as an anxious person, and an anxious person uses an external nexus of control and validation. So because they don't have it inside, and so they're always looking for an external person that has power and value to basically tell them that they're important, tell them that they're valued, tell them that they're prioritized, right? And so from the very, very beginning, the anxious person steps into this relationship in a transactional relationship saying, I'm here to get something from you. And I'm going to show you all this love and attention and focus and everything else in exchange for you giving me validation, what I called the covert contract. And so I'm in this transactional relationship, which is already on shaky ground as far as healthy goes. But then I'm sitting here being like, I want your attention. And when you, avoidant person, were here at the beginning, everything was great and you're paying attention to me and we're all having this great time and we're going on dates and having yummy sex and blah, blah, blah. And it's just like everything's, and now I'm happy, right? Because I've got the attention and prioritization of this attractive, valuable person. But as time goes on, they begin to see that I'm not actually that secure in myself. They begin to see that I'm really kind of dependent upon attention from outside sources. I'm busy people pleasing. I'm hyper vigilant about thoughts and feelings of the people around me. I am like really not stable on my own. Their attraction drops. And then not only does their attraction drop, but they're just like, wow, like it's taking a lot of energy to manage this relationship with you because you need a constant stream of reinforcement and validating energy and text messages all day and compliments and everything else. You need a lot. And it's like, I like you and I'm definitely here because I like you and our relationship has been cool, but it's just like, this is starting to feel like a work. It's starting to feel like a job. Like there's this like exhaustion I'm feeling in the space of this relationship. And I don't know what to do about that because I like you and I don't want you to think that I'm telling you that you're bad because you're not. Just it's like I need a rest. I need a little bit of a break. And so they retract a little bit and then the anxious comes running. Tell me more. Wait a second. You didn't do this. You're not doing that. Like, when are you going to message me? Like, I'm just and it's just like, and the person is still like, they're trying to regulate. They're trying to be compassionate. They're trying to be calm. Not all, but many. And they're on this kind of retreating back foot thing, which means they're pulling away. Well, the anxious person sees that and they say, subconsciously, they're just like, oh, the only reason you would pull away is if you're not into me anymore. The only reason you'd pull away is if you don't like me anymore. If you're prioritizing something else, you're actually telling me that I'm not good. I don't like that at all. I need your assurance. I need your encouragement, blah, blah, blah. So now the anxious goes chasing and the avoidant pulls away. And eventually the avoidant says, I can't do this anymore. I've tried, like I've been trying to find some way to achieve balance and I'm got all my own shit I have not figured out yet. But the whole thing is just pull. You're pulling from me. I am exhausted. I can't do this anymore. And then they bail. Then they run away. Okay, who's right? Who's wrong? If you said neither, that's the right answer. Neither person is right and neither person is wrong. But if you go to an online discussion group for people that have been dating avoidance, you will see thousands and thousands of people that say, no, the anxious person was completely and totally right. And anything the avoidant did is wrong because they're bad and evil. And I have a tragedy about that because those people are going to be stuck in that same loop forever. As far as I've seen, there's no natural ending to that loop. Like that loop has to be, because the loop is this perfect kind of numbing agent, right? It's like, it's all their problem. It's not mine. I don't have to face any of my darkness. From what I've seen, that kind of loop of being in the righteous indignation that I'm right and they're wrong, and I'm justified and they're not, seems to have no endpoint. I don't think I've ever seen anyone just kind of naturally phase out of that cycle. They only escape the loop with intention and a period of processing very difficult emotions. But once they do, they're on the outside and they're like, oh, wow, life is different now. And that's one of the reasons I make these videos and I talk to people and I teach classes and everything else, because I was stuck in that loop for years, decades. I was stuck in that loop for decades. And it's miserable. And it really, really damaged my life. And if I can do anything to help prevent other people from being stuck in that same place, I want to do it. And so this is why I'm here. But the truth is very, very challenging because we have to get comfortable living in a world where I'm not always right. And I'm oftentimes more wrong than I realize. Wrong, whatever we're going to say, underskilled or inefficiently optimized. Like, I don't know what we're going to call it, but we could call it wrong, right? Yeah, that's what it's about. This is the number one thing that kept me stuck forever. And it's probably the number one thing that's keeping you stuck forever. See if you can get to a point where your first reaction in any situation, especially conflict, is to be like, I wonder what truth feels like for them. I wonder what's going on with them that they're behaving in this way. Can I think of any person on earth in any situation that would kind of behave like what I'm seeing this person behave like? That makes sense? It's like, yeah, actually really easy. Person with this kind of childhood trauma and that kind of belief system and these kind of parents. And like, wait a second. Like everything I know about my partner, they did have this kind of trauma and they did have that kind of behavior system and they did have this kind of critical parent. Oh my God. Like, wait, it all makes sense now. If you kind of peel back the layer a little bit and you look underneath this, what you see kind of this idea of the righteous fury or righteous indignation, or like, I'm right, they're wrong. When you peel that back, if you can, oftentimes what you'll see a mortal terror of being wrong. It's simple as that. You will hear stories about childhood experiences with caretakers and attachment figures where if they did not perform up to expectation, there was some kind of dire consequence. There's punishment or shaming or abandonment or pushing away, exclusion, ostracism. And that means theoretically, their nervous system has now optimized around that idea and be like, I need to do anything and everything possible to make sure I'm not wrong, which means I need to grasp onto things that I think are right. And then as soon as I believe that they're right, I grab on with everything I have and I double down and I make sure I stay in the place of being right, because standing firm in a situation where I'm like, I don't know if I'm right, I might be wrong, I might be really wrong, I might be actually making the situation worse in my beliefs and my behaviors. I might actually be the cause of so much pain and misery. I might be actually amplifying and inflaming my partner's attachment wounds. That's a hard place to be. I'm not going to lie. But I'll also say that once you build the skills to do that well, once we build the skills to stand in that place of uncertainty, I mean, like, I don't know if I'm actually in the righteous one here, and it feels really uncomfortable, and I might be making a mistake, and I might actually be hurting people. Once we build the skills to stand in that place of uncertainty and say, I'm trying my best, and I'm trying to make sure that I am doing something that is aligned with my values and aligned with my understanding of what healthy is. I'm trying, but I don't actually know. Like, I might be making it worse. Like, approaching a point of conflict with that much humility and that much vulnerability unlocks things. It unlocks hearts and unlocks resistance and unlocks, yeah, it's good stuff. And when I get good at that, then my partner that has avoidant tendencies and has been running all this time, they stop running as much because they don't feel shamed and blamed and criticized and judged, and they don't feel this cloying, pulling thing. It's just that I sit here in my humility and I say, I'm trying to do the best that I know how to do. And I'm feeling these things about it. And I care about you a lot. I think about times when we're deeply connected and it feels great. And I think about times we're not so connected and that doesn't feel good. And what can we do together? Can you think of any way we can work together to have more good feeling stuff and less bad feeling stuff, right? What does that look like for you? How can you? And then that person feels seen and heard and respected and honored and justified. And they don't feel this like cloying, pulling fatigue, this exhaustion, the exhaustion they were feeling about dealing with an anxious person, that goes away. And they can say, oh yeah, I can be here. And in the consequence, they become less avoidant. The number of avoidant behavior patterns they engage in goes down in both frequency and intensity. Good things happen. Yeah. This is definitely a heavy topic. And it's very difficult for some people to hear. But I know that there's some people out there that this is the message they need on this day that they are hearing it. And if that's you, message me, leave a comment, do something, do a shout out. Let people know that you hear the message and that you understand how deeply it applies to your life and others. It's wild. There's an aspect to this work that is just so confusingly tragic, because it's like I went through the pits of hell and I went through months and years of misery, and I found a path, and I'm just like, oh God, this feels so good now. And it's just like life is so much better, and relationships are so much better, and so many things are so much better. And it's just like, but the way to get out is not the way that I thought it would be. I thought the way to get out would be like figure out a way to structure life so I can keep getting more of the things that feel good and less of the things that feel bad. That's what I thought. That's how I thought it worked. And so that shows up when I'm dealing with a partner. It's like I want my partner to have more things that feel good and less things that feel bad. Kind of like what I was just talking about. But that's not the way out. The way out is to be like, no, I'm gonna go inward and find my own agency that brought about, like, how did I help participate and co-author these experiences that feel bad, that don't feel good? And then when I do that, I have agency over the situation of my life. And that feels good and exciting and interesting and fun. And then I use that agency, this newfound agency, I use that agency to basically start making new choices, start planning a different life. And I increase my resilience and capacity. I learn how to face fear. I learn how to face stress. And now it's just like my resilience and capacity keeps going up, 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 up. And I'm just like, wow. It was not about getting more of the good stuff and less of the bad stuff. It was about changing this in here so I'm able to stand in the face of all the stuff and just be like, oh yeah, I'm chill. I'm good. Like, that one over there, that sucks a bit, maybe a lot, but it's okay. I'll get through it. This one over here, well, that looks like a lot of fun. Let's go engage and enjoy it for as long as it's here. And it's like, oh, it disappears tomorrow. Oh, well, I'm okay. I can survive. I'm sure there's more to be said, but I'll bring it to a close, because I hope at least some of this has made sense. The way to get unstuck is to become very, very comfortable with the idea that maybe I'm not right. Be very comfortable with the idea that, like, maybe this person on the other side that I just have so much pain and dissatisfaction or whatever, judgment even, to just get very comfortable with the idea that maybe they're justified too. Not saying I'm not justified, not saying they're better than me, not saying they're justified in really, truly terrible behavior. I'm saying that, like, if it's just a matter of, like, they're not loving me the way that I want them to, or they're not using the kind of love language that I want, or whatever, maybe they're justified in that. Maybe there's a reason why they reached that point. And if I stand on the outside and I say, bad on you, you're terrible for doing that thing, I'm just creating an enemy. Their nervous system is going to revolt. Their nervous system sees shame and attacking and blame and everything else. And it's just going to, like, retreat. And then we will have zero connection. We're literally severing connection when I cast blame on another. But if I sit here and just be like, wow, I've got some feels inside me and they're not pleasant, and they seem to be connected, or at least they happen in close proximity to when you did this thing. Like, it doesn't feel good for me. But what's it feel like for you? Like, this whole thing that I'm dealing with might actually completely go away once I understand it from your point of view. So tell me. Like, I'm not just curious. It's like I'm legitimately asking, because developing a greater understanding of what it feels like for you and what drives you to the point where you would make this decision or behave in this way, that might make all my pain and misery go away. I might just be like, oh yeah, well, I'm like, wow, I didn't think of it that way. Like, oh yeah, I think I would feel the same way. And then all that misery I had just goes away, poof, instantly. Good stuff. Again, I'm Kirby, trauma attachment specialist. I do one-on-one sessions. I do group classes, live, in person, on the internet, Zoom, blah, 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 speaking gigs. I love, love, love teaching. And so if this resonated with you today and there's things about this that you would like help on, please message me or someone like me, and I would love to help. Wish you the best. And I'm absolutely, positively confident that you can do it. You can escape the loop and you can achieve the life of your dreams. Not even a question. It's going to happen. Peace.